Welcome to my trail marathon training plan video. This is all about how to create your own personalized training plan for the specific race that you chose. Maybe you used the links on our previous video to do that, but if you didn't, doesn't matter. Know the race metrics and train to those metrics. That's the key takeaway from this video. You really need to train specific to the race that you've chosen. So this training plan could really be useful for those who are training for maybe a 10-kilometer half marathon, 30-kilometer, or even a 50-kilometer ultra marathon. So the only real difference in your training plan is going to be time on feet. So you're going to be following a very similar plan, but maybe your long runs are going to be longer. But this is a trail marathon training plan, and I'm going to really focus on that for this video. So of course every trail marathon race is going to be different, but there are two metrics that we definitely know. And that is distance. So 26.2 miles is the marathon distance, and you're going to know how much elevation gain you're going to have to do if you've checked the race website. So how do we overcome those two metrics come race day? Well, we definitely train for them. So of course, when it comes to distance, you need to know that you can run as close to 26.2 miles as possible, because that's the distance you're going to have to race on race day. So you don't need to run that whole distance in one training run before race day. I would advise maybe doing something like 20 miles as your maximum distance run, unless of course you're an ultra runner and bashing out a marathon on a training run is easy for you. It's really important to do those long runs as well during your training, because knowing what it's like running for such a long time is really important for your body, because there's going to be this muscle memory embedded within your body and brain. The whole connection between the two is so important, and your mind needs to know that you can actually run that distance, and your mind is really half the barrier. So as long as you can tell yourself that you can do that distance, and because you have done it in the past, that's going to be a really convincing argument to yourself, then you should be fine. And come race day, if you haven't run 26.2 miles in one run before the race, then if you've done a 22-mile run, for example, then it's going to be really easy to run that last 4 miles during race day, because you're going to be pumped up on adrenaline, and it's going to be so much support from people around you as well. And you're just going to really find it easy to kick out that final 4 miles. And another reason we don't run too much before race day, as in too many really long distance runs, is because we don't want to injure ourselves accidentally. Because if you're injured, then you're never going to make it to the start line and your race is over before it even starts. So I've got a gloriously oversimplified tactic for training for a marathon, or pretty much any distance really. And that's that I like to make sure that my weekly mileage is at least 1.5 times to 2 times the distance that my race is actually going to be. So for example, if I'm training for a trail marathon race, then I'm going to be putting in double that amount. So I'm going to be putting in around 50 miles a week to make sure that my body is ready to run a marathon at any point in time. So having that base of around 2 times your race distance in a weekly training period is going to have you in a really strong position. And that's a gloriously oversimple training plan or tactic, but it's always worked for me. So similarly to distance, the way you're going to overcome the amount of elevation gain or elevation loss that you're going to have to tackle during your trail marathon race is pretty simple. Just try to do twice the amount of elevation gain and loss within a week. So twice the amount of the elevation gain in your race. Make sure you back that every week towards the end of your training cycle. If you can be doing that, then you're going to pretty much have this race in the bag. Please do not overlook elevation gain, because it's amazing how much extra muscle strength and energy it does take to run up hills during a marathon. You can't be training for a road marathon race and then expect to just go out and smash a trail marathon race that has a lot of elevation gain. It's not going to happen. You're going to run into so many issues, including cramps, bonking, hitting the pain cave more often than you'd like. And running on trails is so different to road running, because of that elevation gain, you're going up and down, up and down. You're using so many more of your leg muscles that you really have to train for that to be able to do it come race day. So the best way to train for elevation gain would be to run hill reps. So that's up, down, etc. on a hill. So hopefully you've got a local hill. If you don't, then I would definitely try using a treadmill, set the incline up, maybe, I don't know, 10 degrees, something like that, and just run uphill. So set the distance on the treadmill to maybe 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers. Check with your race profile as well to see how long those climbs are, because it might be worth setting the incline to exactly what it is in the race and for the same amount of distance, just to see if you can do it. That'll be a fun little challenge anyway. Also, it's worth pointing out that you need to have a hill that has a significant incline for these hill reps to really work. So if it's very subtle on the incline, then I don't think you're really going to benefit from that, to be honest. So my advice would be to find the steepest, longest hill that you can find, and then you won't have an issue. So I like to do my uphill repeats and downhill repeats all in one session, and to summarize, this is what I do. So step one would be to run up the hill about 18 to 90% of your maximum capacity. Then jog back down that same hill at about 20 to 40% of your capacity. So jogging, taking it nice and easy to let yourself recover for the next phase. The next phase would be to jog right back up that hill about 20 to 40% capacity. So what that's going to do is really work your leg muscles, but not so much your aerobic capacity. So we don't want to be going anaerobic or pushing our heart rate too much when you go up the hill for that second time. Now the reason we're taking it easy on that second uphill repeat is because the next one, going back down, is our downhill repeat. So that's sprinting down the hill about 80% of capacity. And what that's going to do is really strengthen your quads and get you ready for running down hills. Which, if you've got a lot of elevation gain in your race, of course you're going to have the elevation loss as well. And what running fast downhill does in training is it unlocks your overall speed. So you can run much faster running down the hill than you can on the flat. So if you were to always run on the flat, you would never actually, I'm trying to think of a metaphor here, you would never really expand that elastic band of capable speed. Running downhill lets you unlock it, and it lets your body feel what it's like to run at super high speeds. And once it knows what it feels like, then it can do it again. Then what you need to do when you get to the bottom of the hill is take a breather, take a few minutes to get your heart rate back down to something a bit more steady, I don't know, 80 beats or something it might be if you've been doing some hill reps already. And then you repeat the whole process again. Maybe do this repeat something like 4 or 5 times if you can. So doing hill repeats is very mentally challenging, and it's important to challenge your mental capacity, because come race day you might be out there racing for 6 hours, maybe even longer if it's a really challenging trail marathon. So you need to be able to focus your mind, and if you do hit the pain cave, your mind is the only thing that's going to be able to get you out of that tricky situation and say, come on, get yourself together, you can finish this race. And that's what the mental training is all about. So if you've hit the pain cave from these hill repeats, you should be fine come race day. Train hard, race easy, people. So there are some other really important things you need to be doing for your trail marathon training. The first one being double long runs on the weekends. So for example, that's 15 miles maybe on a Saturday and then 12 miles on the Sunday. The reason for doing double long miles is that you're going to recover much faster than if you were to, say, run 22 miles in one day. Plus there'll be much less chance of you injuring yourself from doing too much too soon. That being said, of course, you should definitely do at least one long run of at least 22 miles. If you would like to become a stronger trail runner, then I've written on trailandkale.com my top 20 performance hacks, so definitely check that out. I'll put a link up there now. That's going to have some even more tips for you guys to use during your training and racing too. The next thing you need to be doing is at least one tempo run during the week. So tempo runs will help you get really comfortable running at a fast pace for an extended period of time. So if you're unfamiliar with tempo runs, basically what they are is you running for around 60 minutes at a really challenging pace, and By the end of that 60 minutes, you're probably going to feel like you need to stop. So you're running close to maximum capacity that you can actually do for 60 minutes. You should never really get yourself to the stage of exhaustion though, so if you do feel like tempo runs are really tough, then maybe just try and do it for 45 minutes to start with. The next thing you need to be doing is one recovery run. So that's a very easy run of around 6 to 9 miles a week. Now the idea of recovery runs is they really help recovery. So if you're moving your legs in an easy manner and you're not overdoing it, then you may think that you're not in active recovery, but actually this really helps loosen up your muscles and your joints so you recover faster and you'll be able to run much sooner. Don't forget your cross training too. So if you've got a gym or a home gym, make sure you use it. You want to really be working on your glutes, your quads and your core. And also maybe your shoulders too, because you're going to be doing this for quite a while. If you're not really sure where to start with a gym routine for improving your running, then I have actually made a video that's going to be perfect for you. So I'll put that link up there now. And the great thing about that video is you don't need any equipment at all to do it. And you can do it from the comfort of your own home. The final session that you need to do in your weekly training plan is have a rest day. Don't do any running. Maybe do some yoga stretching instead. Resting is just as important as running when it comes to improving your performance and becoming a stronger runner. Again, if you haven't really done yoga before and you don't really know where to start, we've done another video on YouTube which is a 10-minute yoga routine for runners. So it's quite challenging. You may think yoga is easy, but this one's a tricky one. So I challenge you to try it and drop me a comment on there. Let me know how you got on. And if you got to that video from this video, let me know on there too. I'd be really interested to see how you got to it. Now, I understand many of you may have unusual working hours, or maybe you work on the weekend and you literally don't have the time to get those double long runs in on a weekend. If that's you, then you can very easily shift this routine back. So just shift it a few days and it doesn't matter at all. And just a general rule, if this is your first marathon, you're going to need to build up your base. So give yourself around 2 to 3 months off this training plan. Bearing in mind that you want to be running roughly 1.5 to 2 times race distance every week comfortably before race day. Before you get stuck into all this training, I really recommend you read this article that we wrote on trailandkill.com. Put a link up there now. It's all about good running form and how to do it, and how good running form actually reduces the chance of picking up injuries, because the last thing we want is for you to get an injury during training. So I am now going to overlay a little image which is a weekly schedule that you should try to stick to. And I'll probably put a link down there which allows you to download that image too if you want to follow it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this how to create your personalized training plan for your trail marathon race. I hope it gave you some insights on what you need to be doing to be race ready come race day. I seriously wish I knew all this before my first marathon. So click here for our next video, which is all about the best trail running gear for your training plan and your race. And this is all gear that I've used myself. I've gone through so much gear. I test it all the time on trailandkill.com. So I've got a very good understanding of what gear is actually really good for trail marathon races and training. So endurance running, that kind of stuff. I currently use all this gear myself, so I highly recommend it. And if you've got any questions on it, just let me know in the comments on the next video. See you there.